from Amsterdam, live in our studio. Today I'm being joined by Amanda, who is our remote facilitator. So any questions you have, she will actually moderate it and share them with me, and we will try to answer them directly in this live session. Maybe to kick off, one question for you. Where are you dialing in from? So please put it down in the chat, and we would love to know. So welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining, where I really would like to welcome Petra Tito, managing partner within Deloitte. And together we've been co-writing an article with the title, Iteration, the Foundation of a Sustainable Workplace Strategy. And today we're going to have a discussion on that to dive a bit deeper into it. But before we start, Petra Tito, welcome, and can you maybe introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure, Bram. Thanks. And thanks for the invitation. I really love being here. I am a partner at Deloitte Netherlands, and I have been a long life Deloitter as well. I've been with our company for quite some time. I'm managing the consulting practice here in the Netherlands, and before that, I have been acting as the CHRO for Deloitte Netherlands. And that's also how we met while trying to iterate and innovate with Miro. So thanks for the invitation, and love being here.
Thank you so much. And I have a special relationship with Deloitte. I worked for nearly 7 years with Deloitte before I joined Miro. So a lot of stuff that we're discussing today, I can really relate to, and maybe even be able to give some examples myself. So in the article, basically, we described 3 elements for the new workplace strategy. And it kicked off with where you mentioned how important it is to foster a culture of feedback and flexibility.
Yeah.
My key question is how do you actually really collect the feedback from your employees, and how do you encourage them also to give it?
Yeah. I think it's really central at the culture at Deloitte, because we truly feel that receiving and giving feedback is at the center of us learning as an organization, but also as individuals. But I will, of course, also must stress that we are not alone in this. So collecting feedback and checking engagement of employees is something companies have been doing for quite a long time. And I think that ranges from a simple survey once a year on how do you believe we're doing as a company to what we call continuous listening. What we are trying to do is actually kind of a twofold strategy. On the one hand, we are trying to connect all of the data points we already have in our organization. And actually, you collect quite a lot of information on how are employees doing, how are they thinking. Sometimes that's by following a structural survey, like we have our engagement survey, which we have on a quarterly basis. Sometimes it is a one-off data source because you wanted to know their opinion around a certain topic. What we as companies often do not do, and what we are trying to change at Deloitte, is combining those data sources and see whether you can truly see trends or connections between all those data sources that give you a deeper insight on how people think you as an organization are doing. Next to that, we have a very ingrained feedback culture, which means that we give people lots of feedback, we ask for a lot of feedback, but it is actually also part of our day-to-day interaction with employees around, for instance, policy making. If you talk about talent, talk about how we shape our diversity strategy, it's all through networks. And I think it originates in us as a company because we are a very network-oriented organization, as you know, by being with us. And in order to change anything in our organization, you really have to have almost your tentacles, so to say, into the depth of our businesses. And we do that by creating all kinds of networks with, you call it evangelists. We usually call it champions of people who are really passionate about a certain topic and want to contribute on that specific topic and helping us shape our policies or shaping our work processes according to their passion. And we invite them to collaborate with us on developing that. And in those interactions, dialogue sessions, we receive a lot of feedback on how they feel that we are doing. So those are a couple of things on how we try to really get connected with our employees and make sure that they actually co-shape our organization.
I love that. I love continuous listening, that concept. That is really important.
Yeah.
And it's also something I really recognized in the time when I was with Deloitte. I mean, you get a lot of surveys indeed, but the check-in moments with your managers, but also with other parts of the organization are so important where you can freely and safely share your opinions.
Yeah. So the check-in moments we do between our team leaders and our employees is bi-weekly. Yeah. So every 2 weeks you have a conversation, and I think that helped us a lot of really understanding what was important for our people. Um, I must say, yeah, the caveat there is that you really need to listen. Yeah, so it's great that you start a conversation and that you gather that feedback, but if you're not really truly willing to listen and act upon what you hear, then it can also be a source of disengagement, even, huh? Because people get very frustrated if they give you continuous feedback and you, as an organization, are actually not doing anything with it. So the key here also lies in action.
With in another session with Dr. Brennan Jacoby, he has a wording for this, which is called a sliding door moment, where someone is actually sharing a feeling or a thought, and those moments you really need to pay attention to,
Yeah.
because otherwise you're going to miss connection. So it's very important that when you listen, you actually do something with it and also acknowledge it. A second element in the article was about unboxing people from jobs to unlock their skills.
Yeah.
And this is something which is very close to my heart, because I really believe in this, that when teams are being formed, that you really need to look at what type of skills need to be there instead of like what type of roles should be formed there. How do you do this?
Yeah. First of all, it's also called skills-based organization, skills-based economy. It's becoming a bit of a buzzword. So maybe first to highlight, if we talk about skills, what do we actually mean by skills? So, and if you look at the original sense, skills is usually used to describe human traits, technical capabilities, and also potential in people. That what you can develop for future success in employees. But I think the way the term is currently used, skills, it actually goes beyond that concept. It actually is almost more of a talent concept than that it truly now describes competencies or capabilities. It I think, is a way to point out that humans are truly unique, and that their traits, that they are unique, that they are diverse, and that they need to be treated equitable. And that is something job profiles or roles don't do. They make it very generic. You are a process engineer or you are an IT architect. But beyond that job title, you have a person with lots of preferences and passions and ideas, which you actually do not harvest, in my perspective, if you only focus on what the role should be. Furthermore, you see in practice that people do a lot of things in organizations which go beyond the role. So, in essence, why is it important to have that role, or should you just focus on where you can bring those unique attributes you have to, to value in the organization and also the value of yourself? So, I think before you start with creating a skill-based organization, I think it's important to really note for yourself, why is it important for me as an organization? Is it because I have a talent shortage and looking at skills opens up new talent pools? Is it because I want to be more effective? Is it because I want to be more agile? Because that gives you a frame of reference on how you want to use skills in your organization. And then I would make it really practical. I'm a very pragmatic person. I would look basically to, what is my strategy? Yeah, what do I really want to achieve? What are then the work processes or the activities I need to undertake to create that value? And then basically make that translation towards, and what skill set is essential to basically to achieve that result, to create that value. And that you can map it towards, what skills do I actually have in my organization and what is the gap? What does that mean? Which capabilities or which skills do I actually need to further develop? Which do I need to hire from the market? And how do I actually map or create the best combinations of skills to achieve the end results I want to have as an organization? And in doing so, you're not looking at roles or functions or departments you need to basically create that end result, but you're looking at the unique attributes of people and see how you can help them develop and prosper in your organization. So I think it's a really nice concept. But I think you need to make it 2 levels practical in a sense, to go beyond the buzzword of a skills-based organization to something which you can make actionable, and can really make it your own as an organization.
And I can imagine that your talent really appreciates this as well, right? Because it helps to develop different skills that go beyond their traditional roles.
Yeah, definitely. And for us as an organization, I must also admit this, it's quite easy, because we are a project-based
Yep.
organization. So if you look at my business unit, we're consultants. Every consultant is called a consultant, so we don't have any other job title than consultant. But we do have, of course, very specific skill sets or capability areas where we grow and foster all the different skills we need to be successful at our clients. But even then, in the past, I think we had a too narrow focus on the type of skills we thought we needed to be successful at our clients. And I think with the current challenges we are facing in society, and the struggles our clients are facing and where they are asking for our help, it gradually changes the type of skills
Yeah.
which are required to be successful. So it is also an adaptable concept. It is not that you define your skill one time for your organization and that's it. It moves actually with what our clients are asking from us. And therefore, you see that we have now much more spiky profiles in our organization than we had before. And also the diversity of skill sets is become much wider than we had in the past. So we have everything from psychologists to cybersecurity people to our tax advisors to auditors, and they all come with their unique attributes as a person and their professional skills. And that we combine to be successful for clients. Yeah.
There's a massive shift in demands. I can assume when you're looking at elements of like sustainability. I think it's one of the leading topics right now. It's also something that is a very complex domain to operate in, because it requires different perspectives on it. And one of the things what you mentioned there is also in the article is that you said how important it is to broaden your definition of sustainability. A link to that, you also mentioned the green collar workers. Could you
Yeah.
maybe elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, so the green collar worker are people who are really focusing on helping embed and implement sustainability in society. Yeah, they help making the turnaround in, for instance, green energy, or in other areas, for instance, of sustainable supply chain. What you see is that they have a very specific skill set, and this skill set starts to differ from what we had in the past. For us as an organization, for instance, is that we now have decarbonization experts, a role or a type of skill we didn't have 2 years ago. Or that we have people who know everything about plastic, or people who really are into how do I create a transparent supply chain. All types of skills which are in demand with our clients really make that transition towards a sustainable organization. I think there are two things to note if you talk about, because that's one of the topics we also mentioned in the article, about human sustainability. So what is that? And I think you can easily overlay that with the S in ESG, around the social component of sustainability. And I think it's important as a company to distinct two things. I think one, we need to act in our case, Deloitte needs to act as a responsible company. Therefore, we need to be sustainable ourselves.
Yeah.
But I think the true impact of our organization goes beyond that, and it is in how we help our people to have a more sustainable or a responsible life, so to say, and how we help our clients on their journey towards sustainability. And in that, also focusing on the social component. So that is actually everyone you touch as an organization, being it your own employees, being it the communities you work in, being it the people at your clients, being it their clients indirectly, and really incorporate that as well in your approach to sustainability. And I think a big theme in there, which is also close to my heart and very important to Deloitte as well, is everything around equitable society. You want actually, especially also if I take the lens of employees, that you when people work at you, in the end, they are healthier, they are happier, and they are able to develop themselves. And you are, in a sustainable way, actually contributing towards their life
Yeah.
instead of just looking at them as a resource for your organization. And you see that more and more organizations are looking through that lens to the human aspect of sustainability. And I think that has a really good connection as well with purpose and belonging. And we know that purpose and belonging are two very important elements for especially also the younger generation to form a connection with you as an organization and actually truly feel at home in your organization. So I think this is a topic which has multiple positive effects on your organization if you focus upon that.
I think a really great thing what you have within Deloitte is the Impact Foundation, right? I
Yeah.
think that is an incredible initiative where basically every single employee is able to spend a certain amount of hours a year based on good causes. So, for example, maybe can you give 2 examples that you're really proud of?
Um, Yeah, so we do lots of things. I think one which maybe some of the audience have seen where we were in the news is everything we do in the Netherlands around schuldenlab, where we really support the foundation, also where Princess Maxima is active in trying to eliminate debt in society. By education, by information, by creating quick scans, etc. So I think that is a really nice element because also we know that financial stress is a very important contributor to not feeling well. So it's a very important contributor to well-being if you eliminate that. And we also do lots in education because one of our important points in our value proposition is never stop growing. So we find learning and development extremely important. So we work with lots of organizations actually in the field of education, and then especially also in underprivileged areas in the big cities, to see how we can help improve education.
Beautiful. It's if we're looking at the last one of the last questions I have, it's so the 3 elements we have, right? Foster the culture of feedback, unboxing people from jobs, broaden your definition of sustainability. One of the other things is iterate to innovate. And that is
Yeah.
really about, in every conversation we had, you mentioned every single time you have to keep experimenting. And one of the things that is also described in the article was the concept of during COVID, where people, especially with children, were struggling with finding time to be with the kids and to work, and everything came together. And one of the things that was initiated was actually offering all the employees with children to make use of a company called Charlie Cares. Basically, these babysitters would come into your house, and this was being paid by Deloitte. And for me, that was incredible because it allowed me to really focus more on my work, but besides that, also to give me downtime, even if I was not working, but that the kids were being looked after, so I could regain energy. And I thought it was such an incredible concept. And I was very amazed even to hear that even COVID is over, or that we are able again to move freely, that you are still providing this service basically to your employees. What is
Yeah.
the thought behind that, and why did I
Now,
leave it?
when we started, it was really an on-the-spot decision because we were in the moment faced by a lot of parents struggling to combine caring for their children, home education, and working. And we said, okay, what can we do? What can we think of to actually alleviate that? And then we came across the company Charlie Cares. We had an intake conversation, and we said, okay, we're just going to do it, and we'll see how it turns out. And it turned out to be incredibly successful. And it was so much appreciated that we said, okay, we will bring this as an employee benefit for the future as well. I think it's an example of, well, let's try it and see how it works out. And then when it seems that it is really successful, then you can basically continue with it. And if it would have turned out not to be successful, it would also be something you could easily discard and focus on something else.
Yeah.
And the reason why I brought the example of course, it gives it highlights again an element you can use to improve well-being of your people, which actually goes beyond the walls of your own organization, and you're moving actually into the home and into the family, but you can basically also be of meaning for that as well. But the point is, it is not to overthink things and just try it. Because usually we rethink and rehash some of the decisions where the risk of actually doing it is very, very slim. So what I try to basically evangelate in your terms as Miro is sometimes you just need to take that risk and see whether it works or not. So taking calculated risk, I think, comes with that iterative process, and you can learn so much on it. And what is the harm that some of those initiatives fails and you say, okay, it doesn't work. I've learned something from it, and we move on. So I would really encourage organizations to do that a bit more. There is a downside to it. If you look at X or Twitter, you can also experiment maybe a bit too much and create a lot of chaos. That is maybe not what you want, but try to find something in the middle of being too safe and being too all over the place. And I think it can benefit your organization quite a lot.
I think the speed and experimenting is so incredibly important, especially in this time where we need that, right? We need to make fast decision and see what works, what doesn't work. The conversation we had, I think this was about maybe a year ago, where we talked about exploring Miro within Deloitte at a broader scale, and also where you said, you know what, let's just do this. Let's see if this can be the instrument for us to drive like change. Let's explore, let's experiment, and let's iterate. And I think having that mindset brings so much good, and especially so many new insights.
Yeah, it helped us a lot. I think the way we approached it together had to try to bring Miro into our organization and do it in an experimental way by using our own employees, bringing forward use cases and see how Miro as a product could fully support us, I think worked incredibly well. I think too often you see that new products, IT product, technology product, digital products are just being pushed down from the top into the organization, and then you hope it will be successful. We actually chose the complete other way. Yeah? So we looked for use cases lower in the organization, created buzz and energy around that, and as a kind of an oil stain, then rolled out Miro throughout those organization units. And I think, again, with the feedback of our employees, with their passion and their championship, I think we have made some incredible steps where we're using Miro now in truly innovating our work processes. And I think that is a topic you and I discussed also quite a bit in that process, is that I'm a firm believer of just not copying what you have. But if you are starting to use Miro to really rethink your work processes and think, okay, is this the best way to do it? Is this how I create value to my clients? If not, discard it.
Yeah.
If yes, or maybe innovate into something which is better. And then also, I think truly using the unique features Miro has to really be more innovative in how you work, also asynchronic. Because I think that is what we are lacking in a lot of organizations. You have made multiple articles around it, discarding meetings, start thinking in another way, make use of your time much more effective. And I think that is what Miro is bringing us as well. And I used it in my own team, and I had this great conversation when one of my team members called me. We're working on our human HR strategy at that point in time by using Miro and making a board on it. Said, I can't get all these people together to give input on the strategy. And I think, okay, here goes something wrong. It's okay, we're using Miro, we were going to do this in a different way. You don't need that meeting with 20 people in 6 weeks' time. You can do it differently. And I think it really triggered for us a different way of thinking on how to best collaborate and how to create better results faster. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And for me, co-writing this article with you, I mean, I've learned so much from you. And also you shared a lot of research that Deloitte has done. I think it's incredible how, what a forward thinkers, and especially you are, in also trying and daring to experiment. I think that is one of the key things, what is so important, where we see things changing, so you can't do it the old way. So you need to do things differently. And I think you have great examples, for example, with Charlie Cares, but you also mentioned some other good examples in the article where some really bold decisions were made just to try and let's see what happens. One of the things that stuck with me as well was when we had the earthquake, how fast the organization decided that people would be freed up to actually help out and dedicate time there to do whatever they could. And I think normally those things, especially when you talk to people and when they talk about a big organization like Deloitte, you would expect it's slow, right? Sometimes it's being referred to like an oil tanker, and it like moving so slowly in the water when it's making its turn. And I think it's this approach, especially for the new workplace strategy, is so important, to be so agile, be fast, experiment, iterate, learn, and even fail. And when things fail, it's fine as well, but then you learn from it.
Fine, and you can learn from it. But I think maybe on a final note on that, Bram, I think it's important to make a distinction between company-wide policies and regulations and what you can do day to day to improve employee experience,
Yeah.
which you can actually influence more on the unit of teams. And too often we think that we can only change our organization when we do company-wide culture changes or company-wide policies. And I think it's much more effective to change your culture or to really make an impact towards your employees if you focus on the team and the connection between team leader and their team members. And then you can move way faster in decisions as well. You can make it much more closer to their heart and much more important to them, much more also tailored. And you can move way faster in making decisions like you were mentioning around the earthquake, because it simply came up with people raising, hey, am I allowed to go do some charity work? And we said yes. And then a decision can be as simple as that.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Again, thank you
You're
so much
welcome.
for taking all the time, co-writing the article with me, sharing all your thought leadership, and taking the time during this session. I also would like to thank the audience for joining us. We're going to share this recording as well online, so you'll have time to look at it again. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to answer. Petra Tito, thank you so much. And
It was my pleasure.
have a great day and see you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.